How's everybody today? Good. Good day. Amen? God is good. I got a little story, few things I want to share with you first thing this morning before we get going too far. As most of you can remember or recall or be aware of, that about 7 years ago, about 6 years ago probably, we began an effort, as God led us to do, to help a man that felt like God was telling him to build a billboard down here with the Ten Commandments on it. And we began to work on that as God led us through that, and He led us through the whole thing, and He blessed everything, and it got put up. And we invited all the churches of Arizona City to be part of that and contribute to that. And for the most part, some of them did and some of them didn't. Well, one of the largest contributors to it was Heaven's View Baptist Church up the road here on Battaglia, Pastor Bill Rowe. They helped us put that together and work on that. And that was about 7 years ago or 6 years ago. And so I already knew Brother Darrell and Pastor Darrell up there, and so he kind of joined us together there, and we worked together on that, and that was great back then, and we continued to move forward. And I always talk about every step that we do and everything that happens in our life is in a purpose. It has a purpose, God's purpose. If we're looking for the Lord and looking to follow Him, He purposes things so that things work out. And so that we can see His hand at work. We couldn't make the plans that He makes and orchestrate the things that He orchestrates the way that He orchestrates them. And this is just evident of that. And so we put the billboard up and everything was good, and then here about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, probably a year and a half ago, Pastor Darrell, his wife, runs the Christian school at the church in Picacho. And Bill and Vicki, they attend Freedom Assembly, from when we attended Freedom Assembly, so we all know each other very well. And the church in Picacho had ordered new pews, and they needed to get rid of the pews that they had in there. And Bill calls me, and Sari called Dessa and said, we're getting rid of these pews. We need to find a place to go with the old pews when the new pews come. Do y'all want them? And we were over on the other side of the church when Bill called, and Dessa said, Bill just called and said, they're taking the pews out of the Picacho church. Do you want them? And I said, sure. The Lord's telling me, yeah, take them. I don't have any idea why, but the Lord's telling me take them pews. So he said, yeah, we'll take them. Now, it's going to be 6 months before the new ones come in, and we got to go pick them up. But yeah, we're going to take them. And the whole time I'm thinking, well, why would we take those church pews? Well, what are we going to do with, how many do we have, Gary?
10.
10 church pews. And a pulpit, right? We got the pulpit too, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
And so, now there's 10 left or there's 8 left?
8 left.
8 left. Gary and Mary put 2 in their house. I thought, well, that's good. They're using them for their home group. That's a purpose for 2 of them, but what do we do with the other 8? They're in Gary, we fixed up Gary's storage, and they've been over there all this time. So now we have a relationship with people and different things, and we have these pews, and they're just sitting there, and we're not sure what we're going to do with them. And at the end of the year, the church board comes together, and we try to plan our missionary support and ministry support for the next year, what we're going to do, and we did that. And a couple of things we thought we were going to get involved in and contribute to, they kind of fell through, and we're just kind of been standing around like, okay, Lord, you wanted us to do, but now nothing is happening. And a lady that I met some years ago, before we even started here, when we lived in Brookside Farms, her name is Melba, and she attends Darrell's church. Well, and she works at Home Depot in the self-checkout area. And so the other day I was in Home Depot, and she seen me, and she came running up and put her arms around me and said, Pastor, the Lord's telling me to have you call Brother Darrell. You need to call Pastor Darrell. He needs some help. Okay, well, I'm going to do that. So yesterday I called Darrell, and I asked him, I said, Darrell, Melba told me the Lord told her to tell me to call you, so that you needed some help with something. He goes, yeah. He says, let me tell you about it, give you some background. He said, in 1977, up on the Navajo Reservation north of Gallup, out by Ship Rock, New Mexico, there was a Navajo man that came to know the Lord. And in such a profound way, he felt so inclined to share the word of the gospel of Jesus Christ with his people that he began a church in his house. And they had no electricity, they didn't have running water, they're just living out on the reservation in the way that the Navajos have always lived. And so he began to share the gospel, and they live and if you've ever been up through there, you can see the way they build their huts out of tree limbs and out of mud. That's their house. And they still do it that way today. So he got his house, and he's having church at his house. So he goes next door to his house, and on the reservation, you don't need a building permit, or you don't have to ask anybody. If you want to build something, you just build it. So he went right next door, and he built him another one. And he started having church in there. Well, because of the being kind of secluded, he decided after, I think in 1981, he built the second building. In 1999, he decided he needed the electricity came down the highway. Highway 9 goes north out of Gallup to Farmington and goes through Shiprock. So he decided the electricity came through out there by the highway, that he needed to be out there. And so he found an old mobile home. And in 1999, they moved the mobile home out there, and they set it up. And all this time, he's continuing to minister to his people. And he actually becomes the chief of police for his community. And so now he's chief of police, and he's pastoring this church, and he's trying to lead his fellow Navajo people to the Lord and teach them about Christ. And he's out there, and he bought this old mobile home. Well, we know what a mobile home is like, and we know what an old mobile home is like. So it didn't last very long. And the weather up there is not near as welcoming as it is here, especially in the wintertime. So that began to get kind of not very suitable anymore. So a ministry from back east, not sure what it was, they contributed some money for them to build a new Navajo-style hut next to the mobile home. So they'd have a dry place, a little warmer than what they had to worship in. And so they've been in that until now. It's beginning to deteriorate. Well, the man was down here in Casa Grande at a training for his chief of police, and he ran into Darrell somewhere having lunch, and they began to talk. And Darrell invited him to come out. He's going to be down here for a week, so Darrell invited him to come out on Wednesday night for service. And so the man did, and I didn't get his name, but I will. And so the man came out, and Brother Darrell, they got to talking, and Darrell told me, he said, as soon as I met the man, the Lord told me that he needs help, and I need to help him. See, that's how the Lord works. He puts things together, and then he puts people in right places, and he speaks to certain people. As he spoke to Melba, told Melba to tell me to call Darrell, and told Darrell to help this guy, just as we helped with the billboard. There was a guy who walked in my office and said, the Lord told me to build a billboard, and we helped. And we edify one another, we build one another up. When God has given us direction, we follow God. Wherever he leads, I'll go. Whatever he tells me to do, I want to be in the middle of that. And so anyway, to continue with the story, Darrell says, okay, I'm very familiar with how to build things. And he said, I got some people in my church that'll help. And we got a little money. They had saved some money to build a church building. And they felt like they needed a church building. And he felt like God was telling him to get started on that. So Darrell took two of his guys. And they went up there earlier. They just got back not too long ago. But they went up there, and the ground was 9 inches off a level, where the ground is not flat where they were. They got it leveled out. They got the concrete poured. They put up the walls, 2 by 6 walls, 10 foot tall. And it's a 1,500 square foot building. So it's just a little bit bigger than this sanctuary. They got the building done and dried in 9 days. Now they need to go back. Buddy said we ran out of money. It costs a lot of money to get rock and concrete and everything, because everything has to come from Gallup, is the closest town. And so it's at least an hour, and there's delivery charges. He said, but we got that far, and he said we ran out of money, so they came home. And the people of the church are excited. The people that attend that church, that this man, now he's been pastoring for 42 years. Out of his house and in grass huts and everything, and now the Lord is providing. And so when I called Darrell, I said, well, how can we help? He said, well, right now what we need is money. He said, we don't have any more money to continue to working on the church. And I said, well, let me know how much more you need. So he's going to work that out. But I said, we have the pews, and we have the pulpit. And God told us to take them, not knowing why we're supposed to take them when we took them. Then we fixed up Gary's storage, we put them in there. They've been in there all this time, and never knew what the intention was. But see, God knew. And for us, it seems like we've been doing this a long time. But for God, he's just putting it together step by step by step by step. And that's how he does things in our life. Sometimes we think, well, God hasn't done nothing in my life for a while. Well, it just ain't time yet. Just wait. Patience. Keep praying. What were we talking about a couple weeks ago? If you leave for California and you get to Winter Haven and stop, you're not going to make it. You got to keep going. We got to keep praying. We got to keep following God. Following means continued process, moving forward. Always something happening, not stopping. Not getting caught up in the everyday questions about everything. Just continue to follow. just continue to lead. So we're going to put together what we can. I talked to let Gary and Denny know about it. We're going to be, we want you guys to be praying for us, that God would give us the direction that we need to go to help them in whatever way that we can to go up there and finish this church for these people. And it's amazing how God allows a little old bitty church, or two little old bitty churches in Arizona City, to be a ministry to a bunch of people way up in northern New Mexico.
Amen.
He puts us here and he gives us opportunities to minister to people. And not only will we minister to them, how many people are they going to tell? Two little old churches out of Arizona City, for no reason at all, come up here and built this building. No, it wasn't for no reason at all, because it was God's plan.
That's right.
From the very beginning. From the day we started working on the billboard, from the day before, 10, 20, 30 years ago, before we ever came here, this was God's plan. See, we think, well, God's not working out nothing. Oh, yeah, He is. He's always working in your life. There's always something else coming further down the road, but you got to keep moving. You got to keep going. And I wanted to share all that with you because I'm excited about what God's going to do in this time that we're going to have, to go up there and meet these people and minister, be able to minister with them and partner with them and let them know that God's church isn't about the group of people that meet in this building. God's church is scattered all over.
Right.
And He gives us opportunities to go and to meet and to share and to minister and to help each other and to encourage one another and to just pray with one another. This will minister to the people in Picacho. When we share with them, them pews that y'all gave to us have now become part of a brand new church. They got a whole, just like God takes us when we're down and out and there's nothing left of our life and it looks like we're done and nobody wants us anymore. He takes it and He makes it all brand new.
Amen.
All brand new.
Yes.
All brand new. God is so good.
Yes.
He never lets us down. He's never given up on us. He's never forsaken us. He's never let things go by the wayside. He's working. There's just a lot of us to work on. And that leads us right into today's sermon. No matter what happens, as we perceive it, there's always conflicts. There's always some kind of conflict in life, in the way that we're taught, the way that we think, and the way we perceive things. One of those things is like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Does it really matter? Either or, they're both infinitely related to each other. You can't have more chickens if you don't have eggs. No matter what, they're part of one another. And our lives together are the same way. No matter what, we grow together and God puts us together, that we grow together, that we're part of an end result. But there's a conflict that appears in our life, and sometimes we get that out of Scripture. We're taught that we should constantly strive to make things better. We're taught that we should set goals and we should have a good vision of ourselves. And we're taught that to set goals and to achieve those goals and to reach out for our dreams. And we're taught to drive and to be, and that's what I was just talking about, just always keep going because God's doing something in your life. Keep on moving. But on the other hand, we're also taught to be content. Be happy with what you have. Don't have needs and desires. You're supposed to just, the Bible says, to be content with whatever you have. Let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. But godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it's certain we're going to carry nothing out. Having food and raiment, let us therewith be content. Now, contentment, by definition, is a state of happiness and satisfaction. But the question is really the question before us is, if we really want something, or we really feel a desire for something, should we just be content that we don't have it? Or should we set a goal and really use our God-given gift to try to achieve it? This is what we wrestle with sometimes. A little story. This fisherman, he's just out there and he's enjoying life and he's catching fish and he sleeps in late and he plays with his grandchildren and he goes and visits his friends and he goes and plays his guitar and he's just having a happy, good old life. Well, this Harvard graduate comes to him sees him sitting on the bank. And this graduate goes, man, you're a good fisherman. And you play the guitar pretty good. You're a talented guy. I can show you how to use those talents. And you can make a lot of money. And the fisherman goes, well, what would happen then if I made a lot of money? Well, if you made a lot of money, then you could move to a little village and you could sleep in late and you could fish and you could play with your grandkids and you could sit around and visit your friends and play the guitar. That's what he's doing now. So where is this contentment and our perception of being content? And what is the Bible telling us when it tells us to be content with what we have? Is it telling us just to sit on our hands and say, okay, God is good and have all I need, so I'm going to sit right here. I'm content. Is that what the Bible's talking about? Not at all. Not at all. Contentment, a state of happiness and satisfaction. Real contentment is knowing the means and the confidence in what you're counting on to get you to your goals. That's contentment. Knowing that I can achieve the goals that I've set and the means that I'm going to have to attain what I'm seeking. If we're seeking God's will, He gives us the means to be able to do what He calls us to do and calls us to be forward and calls us to be moving on and calls us but to be content with what He gives us to do it with. Not to try to do it on our own. Go to Philippians chapter 4. Verses 11 through 13. Not that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned, in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased and how to be abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both abound and to suffer need. I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. That's the contentment the Bible's talking about. Content in the relationship that I have with the Lord, that when He brings opportunities to me, when He sends people to me, and He sends people to you, and He gives you opportunity to be content with the fact that the means that I have through Christ will allow me to complete the task that He's put before me. Because when this all happened, I began to rationalize this out in my own mind. Well, Lord, it took how many trailer loads? We took 2 trailer loads.
2 or 3.
To get all those pews to Gary's house. I'm like, Lord, how am I gonna do that? How am I gonna get? And it might rain and it might snow. I mean, we're going to northern New Mexico in January, and I'm going through all these things in my mind, and He just let me run, and He let me go. Go figure it out, Callahan. You go figure it out. And when you get done trying to figure it out, and you wind up on your knees and you're asking me, then I'll tell you how to do it. So real early this morning, He told me just go rent a big rider truck. Then you can take all the pews in one trip, and you'll have room left over in the truck to take some stuff for Brother Darrell. I thought, man, I'm glad I thought of that. I thought of it as soon as I got on my knees and began to talk to the Lord. We began to seek Him out. He'll show us what He has planned for us. He'll show us the things that we can do to be excited in our spirit. He will demonstrate contentment. That's the contentment that the Bible talks about. Still moving forward, still working hard, still doing the things the Lord has us to do, and being content in the way that we're going to get it done, because we're going to count on Him to do it, not me. I'm going to count on the Lord to